Guys, how many times should you shower per week? I know I only shower about like once a week because you gotta keep the musk. Anyways, this video is about an interesting video I found about Arcway. I believe this is 27 by method, as you can see, and it's so interesting. This is back in Legion when Mythic Plus was the first time it was ever introduced. I mean, the timer is 45 minutes, and look at the way they start this key. They start the key with J.B, just going ahead of everyone else. They just stay there. Well, you can see that one of the balance druids is also stealthing ahead because they can do that. So he goes all the way around to this area where the one of the bosses is. By the way, there are 5 bosses. Oh, and then what they do is that they run as hopefully without dying over here, and then they get mass rest. Like, what is going on? Like, it's just interesting. Like, I'm not trying to make any like, back in my day we used to have strategies or something. Like, I don't care in all about that. I'm just like, it's so interesting to see how it was back in the day. Like, they're trying to do the highest keys possible, and they had to do some really funky stuff to try and do that. I do wonder though, do they need to do that? So right here, this is an interesting strategy. I noticed that they're essentially just outranging the mechanic. There's this beam that's happening here, and it's a what do you call it? Like, it's just like an an eye. I think he actually messes up. Yeah, he goes a bit too close. This is the eye that appears, and it just starts shooting beams at people. Yeah, it's like it's complete RNG, sort of like it's a very weird mechanic. We would never be having this today, honestly. Uh, the healing, the damage, right? You had like specs like Affliction Warlock. Affliction Warlock was really good back in the day, but as you can see, like, look at the ramp time. Like, you see, okay, the balance druid, the Windwalker, even the tank doing like pretty good damage. Still, like, just starts doing 4 million damage, stays at 4 million damage, 3 million. Okay, but the Affliction Warlock is just like slowly going up. The longer the fight goes, the way higher up it goes. Another thing that I remember back in the day, I loved watching these guys. I loved watching Shakib and his strategies for how he tanked. So he was running a legendary that when he dies, it resets his sigils. Back in these days, we only had what how do I say, like, only had one charge of the sigils, but you could reset them by dying. And I believe when you popped meta, the cheat death, sorry, then it will also give you reset on your sigils. So essentially, what he's doing is just completely resetting it now by deliberately dying, by standing in this fire and dying, and then it completely resets both his cheat death and his sigils. So when he cheat deaths next, he will get a reset on his sigils, and instead of using cheat death like a safety net, he deliberately dies in scenarios like he deliberately does not press his defensives and dies to pop meta to reset his sigil. So, like, so funky back in the day, like how you were supposed to play like the everything. Like, it was so interesting to see. Like, was this good? Was this bad? I don't know, but it was interesting. Like, I feel like if the game was still like this today, I think people would, like, it would not survive. I think not. But I wonder if it would be interesting if the highest keys were like this, because the highest keys, I mean, like, this is essentially the entire mechanic of high keys these days. Big damage that happens, that is too much damage that you have to pop defensive, karma, bearskin, barkskin, and bear form, and boom, Like that's through touch of karma. And back in these days, well, I'm saying a lot of back in these days, but back then, touch of karma absorbed, I believe, 100% of your health. Not like now, where it's like I think it's 75% of your health or 50% of your health, and redirect 75% of it. It's been nerfed so many times, but like, whoa, look at the look at the damage taken, right? So interesting, so interesting. Like the timer's 45 minutes. Whoa. Yeah, so let's move on. Let's keep going. Like, I mean, the bosses seem interesting, except for Legion was notorious for its one-shot mechanics, where bosses just did some ability that was completely unavoidable, and it just absolutely annihilated everyone. Here's another thing I want to know. I want to talk about. It's the warlock. The warlock is controlling this subjugate demon, as we call it today, and this demon, I believe it gave one person just like super bloodlust or something. There he is casting it. Boom. And I think he just gives him to himself because, of course you want to give it to yourself, man. And you just got like, it was something crazy. Like you just got 40% haste for like 30 seconds or something. I don't remember. But yeah, you just subjugated the demon and off you go. You wouldn't really see that more these days. There are some spell stealing buffs. There are some like control undead. Like we're gonna get necrotic wake in the next expansion, I believe, in the first season. I think it's the first season. We get necrotic wake, and there are some control undeads you're gonna be able to do there that are gonna be very beneficial. I do wonder if they're gonna fix that though, or if they're just gonna have it the way it is. You never know. But look at like the wait. Like they're waiting for this patrol. They're waiting for the tank to pull these guys. They're just like hiding behind a corner. Otherwise, they get one shot. Like because the game was a little bit buggier back in the day, but I do wonder, was that a bad thing? Not the bugs, but like, was it a bad thing that not every dungeon was just exactly the same in exactly the same way? There's no strategy. There's no like working together as a team to shroud past this or something basic like that. Nowadays, like you just expect yourself to be able to get exact count without overpulling. You kind of just expect that there are never ever going to be any invis skips or shroud skips. There's never going to be any gateways. There's not never going to be any like you have to control undead. Well, I don't want there to be like a you have to control undead some mob to get the dungeon done or something like that. But uh, it's interesting, you know. I think like right now, like what is this pull? They controlled one demon and they're killing two mobs. That's it. That's the entire pull. But these mobs are absolutely crazy, you know. Nowadays we just kind of pull like mob packs together, and while they all do AoE casts, like and if those AoE casts go off, then you usually die. But this is more like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's doing a lot of healing, you know. But on some pulls, it's doing like no healing. Some pulls is doing a lot of healing. It's intriguing. Oh, that's that's the chaos bolt going off on the tank. It's just interesting. It's just very interesting. Not sure if there's anything else. I mean, here they're like, because the explosives are so crazy, they just pull around the corner and yep. I'm not even sure what the strategy is here. To be honest, I think they all just die here. Yeah, they all just die here, except for Shakib, I believe. Oh, they just do it again. Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, still has like so low count, so much left of the dungeon. I don't actually like super long dungeons personally, but you know, gotta make it somehow interesting. Here, I believe they just like look at it like the tiny pulls, honestly, like really tiny pulls, and the boss is super deadly. Interesting. Right, and I'm just gonna like speed through this. Here you have, for example, you have this bubble that used to give like I think an absolute crap ton of haste, and yeah, you can see it like there's absolute crap ton of haste, and I mean it just stayed there like for a long time. So utilizing stuff like that, I mean here it's just two mobs, one cast goes off. This face, boom, just everyone dead. Like holy moly. It's just very intriguing. Like you had these mobs, like you're just pulling two mobs at a time because these guys are absolutely crazy. If this hits you, you're just dead. And then like right here, let's just like pull everything, but it's just some worms that don't do anything. I wonder if the like if we got back like if we get like Legion classic again and it's just absolutely crazy. I wonder if the strategies would be much different, right? Like think about like these guys, these guys, and these two. Like these two, if you manage to dodge, I think it's just yeah, and you have to interrupt their reconstruction. If they reconstruct, then they fully heal. I remember this. But these mana worms, like, they just put stuff on the ground. Look at the explosive, though. Like, affixes were like absolutely terrible back in the day. But man, it was important. Like, if it's explosive week, you really do have to remember, like, hey, it's explosive week. We cannot pull a lot. Right? They can pull here because they go behind the corner, right? But once these explosives appear, like, look at that. Did it wipe? Whoa, that was close. Restitude was really powerful back in the day. The amount of healing you could output. I mean, Restitude is super powerful, right? These days. Yeah. And yeah, like most of the dungeon is just the same thing. It goes very slowly, but it's very interesting. And I remember this part, right? You get the boss to 50%, yeah, 50%. And just teleports everyone away. You gotta make it back. This thing was absolutely crazy. Like, if you messed up or if you were slow or something like that, you took so much damage. And I wonder. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And these guys, yeah, these guys, they used to do the damage. I remember. So like, if you messed up, if someone messed up, like oh lord, it was absolutely over, right? Like, I wonder if like are they ever gonna do something like this again? Like the boss just teleports you to the beginning of the dungeon and you have to run back. Maybe not, maybe not. But I felt this was interesting. Like this, okay, let's prepare for stuff. You know what I mean? Like less of just like maximum go go go. Instead, it was like, okay, let's milk this a little bit so that so we can not be phased again, maybe, or something like that. Maybe it's on a timer or something like that. They're like milking this as much as they can before they actually go in, and boom, they interrupt them. Just go into the bubble and interrupt, if I remember correctly. But this is okay. This is what I feel like is really missing for healers, in my opinion. I feel like healers would really enjoy like phases where how good your healer is how long you can stay in the phase. You know what I mean? Like the longer they stay in the phase, the more damage is done, but they can do more damage to the boss. This I feel like I don't know if I was healing, I kind of like uh, took like a backseat on healing some time ago. But like this is what I really liked, especially about raids. It's like raid bosses that allowed the healers to like say, guys, just go crazy, just DPS, we'll heal the mechanics. You know, like because I mean every DPS really loves just DPSing. They most of them don't want to do mechanics, and tanks also want to like maximize DPS, and the healers want to heal. Well, I, I am kind of the healer that just wants to heal. I don't want to be doing damage. This thing, yeah. You had to like either just pop a huge defensive or blink through it or something like that. It's an interesting dungeon. It's a very interesting dungeon. I don't know if they can bring it back like it is. Probably be a horrible disaster, but it's interesting. Still missing one count. There you go. One wither fiend. Ooh wee. That's crazy. That is crazy. Details bugging out. Oh, the details meter like 4 billion damage. You know, well, I mean, this is kind of fairly similar to how it is on live. Uh, in terms of like the healer can usually do as much damage as the tank if it's like really if it's a really good synergy between the both of them. You know, a tank doing this amount of healing, the healer doing half the healing of the tank. It's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting video. So yeah, so just a bit of a yap for the fun of it. But see ya.